If there was one controller that I never really wanted or expected to grab for my collection, it was the 2600 Kids controller. First off, I'm a grown man. I do man things and have man controllers, like the Pro line. Now that's a controller made for man's hands, because you ain't gaming unless your wrist hurts, and it's uncomfortable to do even the most basic of functions. No, but seriously, I had no desire to grab the Kids controller, as none of the games that work with it really appeal to me. But when I had the chance to grab one at a local store, with Alpha Beam and Big Bird's Egg Catch complete with overlays, I guess I was sorta charmed into buying it. There is something that would have been very appealing to this big blue inviting book of a controller back in my early years. But the real question is whether or not this is worth adding to your collection today, along with the complement of games, or if it should just remain a distant memory from the past. Let's find out.
Can you tell me how to get to Sesame Street?
Even when I brought the big blue Kids controller home, I couldn't help but to feel this thing couldn't be comfortable to use. It's a big rectangle, for God's sake. Not only that, but the buttons aren't even centered, but oddly pushed to the right for some reason. A controller designed with kids in mind? Looks like they threw a dart at a rectangle and said, yup, that's good, throw a keypad there and call it done. But there is some smart design work here, like the hooks in the back to coil up the controller cord, similar to a vacuum cleaner's power cord. It tucks out of the way nicely and allows it to lay flat on a shelf or even on edge without the bulky cord getting in the way. I kinda like that aspect. But when you are ready to unwind the cord and play, they even have a guided slot to help route it towards the console and away from your hands. Once again, a smart design choice for such an odd controller. But I can't help but to feel that all the keypad buttons were unnecessary. At most, my Alpha Beam cart featuring Ernie uses 4 buttons. But 4 on the 2600 is quite the achievement, really. This is a console known for one-button games, after all. What kind of sesame bun voodoo did those Muppets from the street pull? I don't know, but let's see how this baby plays. Let's start with the Big Bird Egg Catch, so we'll slot in the overlay and get going. And well, the game is about what I would have expected. You use the big left and right arrows to move Big Bird. In the easier game modes, he sorta snaps into place, and it felt weird, but I guess it makes sense for extremely young kids. But in later modes, you would move him as one would expect. I do like how the buttons are popped out from the overlay, making them more tactile and easier to find when not looking. Yet another good decision for this odd little Kids controller. Big Bird's Egg Catch itself has little to no redeeming qualities for an adult like myself. The game isn't very fun, and I didn't find it very educational, honestly. Maybe it would help kids recognize patterns and colors, maybe even hand-eye coordination or something. It's probably meant to help with counting, but I find it all to be a stretch, really. It was a fun curiosity to look at and try for about 10 minutes, but after that I was completely done helping Big Bird catch these eggs. So let's slip the tabs out of this one and replace the overlay with the next one, along with the cartridge in the console. This time, let's look at Alpha Beam with Ernie of Bert and Ernie fame. The art on the overlay is fun, and this is the game that uses 4 buttons. You have left and right, once again, but it looks like you can also abduct things above and below you. This could be interesting. What am I saying? This is Sesame Street. Anyway, with the last game I didn't touch on the sound or the graphics, but they're actually pretty good. I could see them being colorful enough to hold a young child's attention for literally minutes at a time. And I see a little bit more educational value in Ernie's Alpha Beam, at least. You're trying to abduct letters from above a spaceship, and then match them with either the same letter, a lowercase letter, or using your knowledge of the alphabet, cycle through letters to find the right one. I could see this teaching ABCs a little better than the previous game did with counting or whatever it was trying to do. But once you accomplish your goal of matching the letters with their counterparts, you then get to watch the space rocket take off, and boy, is this thing... phallic? What was the rumor about Bert and Ernie again? You know what, never mind. So the long silver rocket takes off, and drops Ernie into the ocean of the Earth, it looks like. Luckily our yellow friend can stand on water, otherwise this Sesame Street game could become dark real fast. And that's really all there is to say about the games that I have for the controller. I'm not going to do a pros and cons for them, there really isn't any point. If you have very young kids, they might enjoy this for a little bit, but I don't see many kids loving this stuff. I might be wrong, but I really doubt it. But let's talk a little bit more about the Kids controller. I was surprised at how well this thing worked, and how comfortable it was to hold. It has an indent on the center of the underside, so you have handles to rest your hands in, and it helps a lot with playing the games. With or without the overlays, all the buttons seem responsive, and work as you would expect. But I feel the raised parts of the overlays were a very smart choice. It would help small kids find what they're supposed to press, I would imagine. The thing just works, and it has more design elements than I really expected. They could have threw a cord on a rectangle and called it a day, but they did a lot of cool and smart things with the kids controller. The cord storage and guide, the grips on the underside, and the ability to hold overlays snugly all were nice elements. And while I don't understand what the point of keeping everything to the right of the controller was, I have to admit that it was mostly comfortable to use in my opinion. But there is a major flaw that I'm sure they didn't know about when creating this baby back in the day, and that's the fact that I can't get it to work with my 2600 Plus. I tried, but I wasn't able to get any of the controls to register. How dare they not plan ahead 40 plus years for an updated version of the 2600 that they could have never anticipated? Poor foresight, to be sure. So, as with the OG Hugo controllers, we're going to give this controller either a straight recommendation, a not recommended, or an undecided rating. And despite all the positive stuff and the nice surprises, I have to say that this thing is not recommended. Number one, if you only have a 2600 Plus, then it probably won't work for you. At least it doesn't with mine at this moment. But number two, and probably most important, are that the compatible games are just not worth owning. If you're a big-time collector, you might want this, but everybody else can easily pass, and you'll honestly miss out on nothing that I can think of. If there's a cool homebrew that happens to work with this thing, then I might see it being worthwhile, but honestly that's a stretch. So my grade for the kids controller is not recommended. Sorry to any fans of the controller or the games, but that's just how I feel. But now I want to hear from you guys about the kids controller. Did you have one back in the day? Or do you disagree with my assessment of the controller? Is there something about it that I forgot to touch on? Well, let me know all that and more in the comments below. And leave a like and subscribe while you're at it. We release 2 videos a week, a featured video every Thursday, and a review, similar to this one, every weekend. Also, check out the Man vs. 7800 live stream every other Saturday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 7 a.m. Pacific. We try to beat a different Atari 7800 game every other Saturday, and this upcoming one we're going to try our hand at the unreleased prototype, Sirius. So check it out, have some fun, and see if man can conquer 7800. This Saturday, March 2nd at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. Alright guys, I'm the 7800 Pro Gamer, and I want to thank you for watching my review of the kids controller and the games I got for it. Until next time, remember to stay classy, Atarians. Later.